Okay, put Caden here. Oh no. Okay, the microphone is messing with the baby cam. It's too low. That's better. That's not so bad. I don't really know what looks natural here. I guess just kind of... Is it too much of a crotch shot? How's that? Is that good? Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me in the back? I'm just waiting because as soon as I start getting into this video, Caden's gonna wake up. So we'll just give him another minute. I thought I'd break up some of the music with some talkie videos because it's been a little bit. I don't think I've done really a good quality talkie video since I've been in Milford. My intention tonight was to do start a series where I go through. I have several boxes and chests downstairs that I pulled out of my storage unit that I haven't opened since I lived in Texas, so I have no idea what's in them, and I thought that could be kind of a fun video to make of just going through it and sort of discovering the treasures of the past. But I was a little too lazy tonight to do all that. So instead, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, I've been hitting, you remember I was talking about Libby, the library app. So I've been hitting the audiobooks real hard lately. I finished, oh man, the camera stopped. Now I gotta go back. I don't know when it stopped at. I hate when it does that. All right, let me catch you up to speed in case I have to go really far back. I've been hitting Libby, that app for the library, really hard. Been reading a lot of audiobooks. My recent one that I listened to that I really liked that I just finished was called Dopamine. It was a clinical psychologist who treats largely addict patients. She does a great job sort of outlining addiction, not in the traditional sense of heroin and the things we all know about, but some more unique addictions. And there's a quote at the beginning of the book that I really love the way she opens it up, and I'm gonna misquote it, but it's something like, addicts are the unfortunately ignored prophets, for they show us who we really are. And I think that's a great quote, because I think about addiction all the time in terms of food addiction and addiction within like activities and just day-to-day things. So the book was really up my alley, but it also was really spooky and made me a little bit paranoid, because she talks a lot about the pleasure-pain balance and how if you experience pleasure all the time and you never experience pain, your body starts to need more and more of that happiness. So eventually you get to a point where you can experience happiness. So it's about finding a balance. But what is disturbing is this, the dopamine, feeling happy, feeling pleasured, feeling great all the time is a commodity. It's being sold to us round the clock, and there's seemingly infinite things that we can become addicted to now, but it's also sort of encouraged, and that a lot of the things that were previously bad for us are now repackaged so that they're good and medicinal. So it's kind of like you had marijuana, well now there's medical marijuana. You had cigarettes and now there's vapes. You had opioids, well now it's painkillers. And so it's like, I saw a video game ad recently while I was listening to this that I thought was really interesting, where it said, get ready for your next addiction. And I thought, like, yeah, that right there is sort of this fun time with grandma lens that we're putting on something that's actually really scary and dark. Because I've noticed with myself, social media, obviously, or not even social media, it's not even that. It's just your phone, the use of your phone, scrolling. You sit there and you start to get so bored of it, and this like guessing. So like gambling is unique in the sense that the more a gambling addict loses, they don't get sad, they actually get happier, because they know that when that win hits, it's going to be even a higher high. So they don't really want to win, they want to lose a bunch until they get that win, and then that makes that win even like more of a dopamine high. And I think about that with like social media, where it's like you don't see anything good, and then you're almost like fine with that, because then when you do find something interesting or whatever it is, you scroll all day, and that the boredom only makes when you do get something that's interesting to you even more addictive. So it's like, and then you add in all the algorithms learning on that addiction. It's very scary. But thankfully at the end of the book, she does point out some ways that you can sort of instill in both yourself and your children how to avoid some of the mechanisms that are the base foundation to what causes addiction. And to really sum it up, I mean, you'd have to read the book for it to be justice, but to really sum it up and dumb it down, what it seemed to me from my kind of a perspective of it was that a lot of it is just shame, handling shame and not having shame, because shame is essentially the device that it builds into addiction, especially at a young age. So, you know, even with others, using what Alcoholics Anonymous does, which is a device that's called, what is it, whatever. It's essentially like, you know, being okay with somebody's mistakes and also being open about your own mistakes. That honesty piece, you know, fierce honesty is a huge piece of avoiding addiction throughout your life. It happened again. So, you know, having brutal honesty in your life is a really good way to avoid instilling addiction in yourself and your children. So, you know, she encouraged parents to be very open, because it's very common for parents to try to be the perfect person for their children and hide all their flaws, but that in turn only makes very pressured and guilty children and shamed for not being perfect. So it's better to be open about your own mistakes in your life, the mistakes that you make within interactions with them, being very forward, be willing to swallow your pride, but then also make it clear that no matter what your mistake is, it always is just a part of us. A mistake doesn't make us bad. We all make mistakes all the time, regardless of whether or not you're a good or bad person. Mistakes are just an unavoidable thing. So it was really interesting. Then I read the first book of Series of Unfortunate Events this morning. It was good, although I listened to it because I listened to that series as a kid, loved it, specifically because Tim Curry does the voice narration. But in this new one, they like updated it because of the Netflix series, so I had this full cast, so it was still Tim Curry narrating it, but it wasn't him doing the voices, which is what he's so good at, is the funny voices. And now I just started, shout out to Jesse for this recommendation that he's always talking about for the last several years, and I'm now getting to it, called Survival of the Sickest. And it's sort of about how illness and disorders and genetics have helped us throughout our evolution. And so far it's banging. I'm only about an hour and 20 minutes into it, but it's really good. And then, John, I do have Guns, Germs, and Steel on hold. That'll be ready in about 5 weeks. Then I have 1984 by George Orwell, just because that's a classic that I've never read, and I've read very few classic books. And then after that, it's Devil in the White City, which is one of my favorite books of all time. That's the book that really sparked my interest in the Gilded Age and the Industrial Revolution, and that sort of historical era. Okay, that's enough talking. I'm gonna go in and edit this now. I'm really hoping those breaks in filming don't make this a chronological nightmare for me. Comment below book recommendations. I know I read a lot of stuff that I just talked about, but I really am interested in finding some fiction books that are not murder mysteries, which apparently is a very tall order, because everything that I can find is just murder mysteries. I'm not really interested. I'm also not really into fantasy. But if you have any recommendations, let me know.